Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Sagittarius energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. In the top row, I'll refer to as high vibe Sagittarius. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius. We've all got our dualistic nature. We do have our more fearful nature, or, depending on the person. The shadow energy can be our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego, our lust, our greed, our immature, codependent, blame everyone else for our problems nature, right? And some people to various degrees are in that energy. And the high vibe energy can be what our more hopeful, believing nature would like to do in our life. And some people are moving forward in that energy because they've kind of overcome their shadow nature. We have our dualistic nature, and one or the other is going to be in the driver's seat of our life. And some people have learned to love themselves and to offset their more immature, fearful nature or whatever with hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams. And that's how they move forward. They still have to work with their shadow nature because your shadow energy is always with you. It's always trying to get you to do your life differently so your shadow nature can be in the driver's seat of your life. Some other people are let their shadow nature run their life. It takes work and effort to learn to love yourself and offset your fears and insecurities. And some people, just haven't even learned that they need to do that work, that it takes work and effort. Some people could have been kind of giving in to their shadow nature, and now they could be debating within themselves about moving forward in life differently. And then you have to do that work to figure out, why don't I do that? What is it that holds me back? The truth sets us free. So if we do the work to look at the things, bring them into the light of day, and deal with them, then we can work through them. But it does take work and effort, and some people don't want. They start to think about it and then they give up, and the bottom row can just represent we keep repeating an old pattern, living life the way we live it. Sagittarius is about higher learning and education in high vibe. In a more shadowy, we kind of give in to our more immature nature and think everything will turn out okay. We'll just keep doing things the way we've been doing it. And, growing and maturing yourself, tempering your ego nature. Some people aren't at a stage of life where they have any interest in doing that. And we've all been more immature and wanting to do what we wanted to do and give in to what we wanted to give into. And that's just where they're at. And we just have to see the truth of it. We want to be in relationships with people who are on the same page as us. So some people who maybe aren't motivated to grow up or have some more self-discipline, they don't want to be in relationships if they know the truth that some people are more motivated and inspired to grow and mature and heal themselves and want to be in more high vibe relationships, and they know that's not their truth. Yeah, they're gonna not move forward with them. That's a death card. No, I've thought about it in the Four of Swords. That's not my truth. I don't want to move forward with you. Do I think maybe I could be happy and that it be, in a lot of ways, could make me happy? But they'd have to change their philosophy of life, of how they view life. And they'd have to detach from an old way of living life to be more independent of it. And some of the high vibe people have done that work within themselves, and they are more independent of their more shadowy nature. They have more hope and faith and belief in themselves and in their dreams, and have learned to love themselves. And some other people are like, dang, I'd maybe like to come with you. But in the death card, it can represent they're not aligned with their more hopeful, believing nature. Would they like to come with you and indulge in a relationship with you? Yeah, so long as you let them be in shadowy energy. But some people have already been in relationships with people who are kind of more shadowy. They can be people who live more from their mind than their heart. They're maybe a little more emotionally shallow and superficial. They're more about the ego and the image or being indulged. And the loving people didn't find it very emotionally fulfilling to be in a relationship with someone like that. Or they were intimidating or controlling, and they didn't want you to keep loving and believing in yourself. And they wanted you to stay right here and keep repeating this pattern of like indulging them in a relationship. And high vibe people are like, but I don't want to repeat this pattern. I want to us both to learn how to love ourselves and be more independent. But some people have another foundation. For one, they align with their more worldly or self or shadowy view of life, but they also then could have other people in their life, is what the Ten of Cups can represent, that it can be friends or family members, and it can just represent the world. If I were to move forward and be more independent, I would have to put an end to investing in this other way of life or making these other people the primary foundation in my life. And some of those people really have a hard time being more independent of that foundation, just like they'd have to become independent of living more from their mind than their heart, to listen to their intuition and love to guide them. And it's like, ooh, that's scary. That's different. I like to live more from my mind than my heart. I would have to maybe take some action in my life, and maybe some things I like to indulge in to make myself feel better, or ways of viewing life or acting. I'd have to put an end to those things. And I kind of like doing those things. And I'd have to become independent of those. I'd have to quit investing in that. And that's why some people, they try to get in relationships with people who are more hopeful and believing and just and fair and loving and independent. And they try to get, their idea is, I'll try to get in a relationship with them, and then I'll try to stop them from like loving and believing in themselves, and try to get them to give up their dreams of things being different. And if I can get them to take this job, get in this friendship, get in this relationship, get in this marriage, and I can get them to invest in it, then maybe they'll just stay here, and they could keep trying to get me to change or heal or grow, but I'm not planning to do that. But I'm hoping that they won't love and believe in themselves enough once they find out the truth that I'm not planning to change. I'm not planning to become more independent. I'm not planning to be more connected in with my emotions and my intuition. That then I'm hoping, because of their own want for this and their ego and the stability or the security, and we'd all like things that we've invested in to work out the way we want, that they hope that those people will just keep putting work and effort to make it work. And as they keep focusing on trying to make something that isn't on the same page as them work, it's kind of like their dreams of what could be working with people who are on the same page as them. And some of those people move forward in our life. We all have free will about what we're going to invest our time, energy, and effort into, what thoughts, what emotions we're going to sit within, what people we're going to invest our time, energy, and effort in. And you can be a loving person who tries to offer love and encouragement to other people, but then we should keep living our life. If I can be a loving and encouraging person to all sorts of people in my family, in my workplace, in my community, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I've maybe previously gotten more involved with people who kind of weren't on the same page as me. I didn't get the justice I wanted, and so I ended those relationships. And I realized I couldn't, even though I could love them and they could be part of my family, they could be my children, it could be a job. I don't want to repeat that pattern. If they're not interested in being more motivated and inspired to align with their more hopeful, believing, tempered, balanced, just, fair, acting with character and integrity nature, then I'm going to keep moving on. Can I still have these people in my life that I'm loving and encouraging to? Sure, but I'm going to keep moving on. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with you? No, I'm going to keep moving on. Because I've already been illuminated to the truth when I was in relationships with people who are like that before. If you're more prideful, egotistical, manipulative, self-centered, bossy, controlling, self-indulgent, or whatever, I'm not going to try to change people anymore. You do you. I can work with you, I can know you. I'm just not going to get in a more involved relationship. I'm going to keep focused on putting work and effort into the people in my life who do work together with me in that more high vibrational way. But our own shadow nature and other people who are in shadowy energy are always going to exist in the world. And as we're moving forward in our life, that energy will always be present to tempt us to kind of indulge in our more worldly nature, prideful nature, lustful, greedy, lazy, codependent nature. And we have to keep investing in, that's not my truth. I've already been in relationships like that and lived my life like that. And I found it didn't get me what I want. I have learned those lessons in life. And if there's people in my life who I think are more in that more shadowy energy, can I treat everybody the way I like to be treated? Can I treat everybody with love and respect and encouragement? Yes, but am I going to get in a more, are you going to move forward with me and I'm going to keep indulging you in that energy? No, I might have to work with you. You might be in my family. Am I going to spend more time with you than necessary? No. I wish you peace and love and joy and I'm moving on. You do you, I'll do me. And some people, other people too have moved on and they have gotten in new jobs, friendships, and relationships with people who are working together with them in that energy, and they're going to keep moving forward with them in that energy. And the high vibe people that could have someone who comes towards them, here we do have Libra and Scorpio energy. Doesn't mean you're dealing with a Libra and a Scorpio sun sign. You're working with people who harness their Libra, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus energy in a high vibe way. Other people in their Libra, Scorpio, Pisces, Taurus energy could harness it in a more shadowy way. I don't want you to love and believe in yourself. I don't want you to keep being more independent. I want you to stay in a friendship or relationship with me or at this job because I think it's just and fair, but I do want you to kind of indulge me in my more immature ways of being. And we have the free will to decide who we're going to invest more of our time, energy, and effort into. If we're already in relationships or workplaces with people who are kind of shadowy, are we going to keep moving forward with them and indulging them? Or are we going to stop and maybe see, I shouldn't move forward with those people? So everybody at any stage of life could be at a point where they have to make a decision. That's living in a world of duality where there's free will. What is my truth? What do I think is just and fair? What about the people I'm in relationship with? What do they think is just and fair? What do they find of how they want to move forward in life? Is it where we do live more from our mind than our heart? This makes practical, logical sense. This has stability. This has security. I'm going to give up my dreams. We should make our life about this. I can be intimidating. I can be controlling. I can be stubborn. I can be private. What kind of person am I and what kind of people am I hanging out with? Which people are the people I do want to move forward with that I think are more loving and encouraging and supportive? And which people do I think aren't? Who do I think is telling the truth? Who do I think is more balanced and acts with character and integrity? And who seems to be, tries to present themselves as a more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving family person, but it's kind of more of an illusion that they present. It's not like authentic. And some people could be deciding that. But as we are ready to move forward, high vibe people are going to make that decision. I have worked through the emotional confusion of it because Scorpio also is about we're this emotionally complex human being. Scorpio is water sign energy. And there's people in my life that I have love for. There's people that I wish would heal. There's people I'd like to have in my life long term. There's people I would like to have move forward with me. But I can only work with people who are willing to work with me together in that type of energy. And if there's people in my life that aren't doing that, I have to deal with the truth of that. Or I can keep sitting here, like waiting for those people to heal and choose love. But while I'm waiting for someone else to heal and choose love or become more independent, my dreams of what could be are, it's like a lost opportunity. And am I going to can I love people that need to heal? That need to work through some of their fears and insecurities and become more independent? That can take years and decades. And if they're already not doing it, they're probably going to keep acting the way they act. If we were more just and fair and balanced, we'd be more just and fair and balanced. If we were more open to love and being more authentic and being more vulnerable, we would be. And we have to see the truth. Everyone has their way of viewing life and kind of what drives and motivates them. And if we've already seen, or they're kind of showing us by their actions, that that's not their philosophy of life, then we need to see the truth of it. Do this work to emotionally detach. Would we have liked to invest in a relationship with them? Yes, but if they're not working together with us in that way, we need to love and believe in ourselves enough, because sometimes some people are not working with you cooperatively or in a loving way because that's not their truth. They're hiding it, and they could be just trying to manipulate you to keep you stuck. And I was like, I'm not going to stay stuck. I'm going to transform my life, is what the death card talks about. I've seen the truth that some people in my life aren't who I maybe thought they were, or they are more codependent, or they are more about themselves or the world or whatever, or they want to be in relationships with other people. Okay. I deal with the truth of it, and the truth helps me work through, and the truth is, and kind of like the Nine of Cups, and the truth is, I offer love to it, because the truth is love. Love is what helps us heal. I'm going to offer love to the emotional confusion of it, and to work through emotionally detaching from some people that I need to more emotionally detach from. To choose to let go of maybe that old dream, because the Nine of Cups and Pisces energy can be about these dreams that we were wanting and imagining that we wanted to manifest. But everybody kind of has to be aligned with that dream and emotionally on board and all these other things I talked about. So there might be some people that we wanted to be in a long-term friendship or relationship with or workplace, and it's not working out the way we thought. So we have to do that work to emotionally detach from that, being more emotionally invested in it, to free ourselves. And that can take time because we are emotionally complex human beings. We did have these dreams, and it takes time. And while people do that work within themselves to heal, when they are ready and their intuition tells them you are ready to go to the next phase of life. And high vibe people don't want to go get involved in something else, kind of juggling and going back and forth. And there could be other people like you that have done this type of work within themselves that have kind of moved on, and they're like waiting for other people to do this work within themselves so they can meet other people who are more on the same page as them. And as you move forward, you could kind of be wondering if you're going to meet new people or whatever, and then it's to keep going with the flow. I keep trusting and believing that the divine has a plan for my life. I think life is about learning lessons because that's how our soul grows to its full potential. And it is about learning these lessons. And as we do this work to move forward, it is continually, the Seven of Pentacles can just also mean I have detached from this old situation or an old way of living life or viewing life. I have become more independent myself of my more shadowy nature. I don't want to invest in people who are more aligned with their shadowy energy. And I'm careful about who I invest my time, energy, and effort into because I am this emotionally complex human being and I don't want to get myself emotionally entangled in people who I don't think are more independent. And, while I'm in workplaces, friendships, and relationships with me, I'm going to do this work within myself so that I don't act in my shadowy energy. And I'm also going to listen to my intuition about the people that I'm in relationship with. Are they more shadowy or are they more high vibe? And I am going to make decisions about who I'm going to kind of keep my distance from and who are people that I would more like to invest more time and energy into to get to know them, to see if we are more on the same page. And some of those people and people who are like that are already in my life, and those people I keep moving forward with. There might be some other people who kind of got left behind because that wasn't the energy they were in. And we saw the truth of it. And we accepted the truth of it, that you're either not just and fair, you're emotionally shallow, superficial, you're more prideful, bossy, defensive, something. I don't want to keep hanging out with people who are like that because you're kind of haven't worked through the issues that manipulate you to be more loving and encouraging and supportive in relationships. And you won't until you've kind of done this inner work within yourself to see why you kind of act that way. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Lover's card. Then we have the Eight of Wands, Sagittarius energy, not showing itself. And so we can get in relationships with people and we can start new jobs and friendships. One person could have learned some more lessons than some other people. They're more independent of certain things that can manipulate people in the world more so than other people. But some other people we meet are hiding that they're not motivated to learn lessons in life. And so they are kind of moving forward in life, still being defensive to love and deep, meaningful relationships. I view the Queen of Cups like the Death card as Scorpio energy. And they're defensive. They're tipped out of balance in their more defensive to love nature. They might be hiding that they're more immature. Their truth could be that they like to present themselves as a loving, nurturing person and maybe likes to be in relationships and indulge himself in relationships. But they have a way of living life that they want to keep repeating this pattern where maybe we just don't give birth to anything new. Let's stay in our comfort zone. I want to stay in my comfort zone. I don't like to listen to my intuition. I might not think there is any higher truth or justice to aspire to in the world. I make my life, I love the world, and I like making my life about the world and my ego and my image and my status, and these things I like to indulge in are more about me. And my truth is that I'm defensive to maybe listening to my intuition. I might listen more to the world or other people in my life or my ego or my defensive nature. And if I keep living my life like this, I don't have to be inspired. From the 8 to the 9 is adding the one wand. I don't ever have to get inspired to stand up for myself and a higher truth and justice. Or I never have to stand up for my own philosophy of life and my truth, because I do make my life about repeating an old pattern or making my life more about conforming to the world. And I don't want to maybe stand up for my own truth. That's scary. I'd have to become more independent of the world. The world tells me, and people in my life tell me, you should act like this, you should dress like this, you should hang out with these people, not those people. You should make your life about these things. You should make your worth and value about what you wear and what you drive and how much money you have. And or some people's truth is, I am looking for someone to mother. I am looking, male or female, I am looking for someone who hasn't healed yet. And then it's like wanting to be God in someone's life. I want you to view me as a loving, nurturing person. And then, but I might be okay with you healing somewhat, but you have to keep defending me like I am your truth. Not you having your own, through the course of the relationship where we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. I am supposed to be your truth. You look to me. You do not look to yourself. You do not listen to your intuition. You do not look to a higher truth and justice guide your life. If I tell you something is just and fair, then you're supposed to think it's just and fair. Even though we never give birth to anything new. We're going to keep moving forward, repeating this old pattern that becomes stagnant and stale over time. Other people get defensive to it, but for some reason, they want to keep repeating this pattern. Well, I guess shadowy energy again can be people who are hiding, that they love their more shadowy nature, their world, the world being about themselves, being about their ego and image. They don't want to have to learn lessons in life, maybe a little bit in their ego, maybe a little defensive to being more just and fair and being held accountable for their actions. They like to present themselves as these just and fair and stable people. I'm not selfish. I'm not bossy. I'm not self-centered. I'm not more materialistically motivated. But there's something in there that they are. Or it's just that they have people in their life that is a primary foundation in their life. Whether, again, that's a friend group or someone in their original family or their original family. And if those people live their life a certain way, and if those people would be defensive to them being more independent, where these people kind of can't intimidate or control them, they could know that those people would become defensive to them. And they're kind of afraid of standing up for themselves because they are kind of tipped out of balance and they're kind of codependent, and then they want to get in relationships with other people. They're really not ready to detach from an old way of living life and people in their life to give birth to anything new. But they can get married, they can do all these things, but then if the people in their life are like, I don't think you should move forward with those people. If you keep moving forward with those people, I'm going to become defensive to you because you're living your life differently. You're viewing life differently. You're more independent than we are. You have more hope and faith and belief than we have. We live our life like this. We think this is just and fair. And if you're not living your life like this, well, then we don't want anything to do with you. And some of these people aren't willing to live their own authentic life and stand up for what they believe in. And they could know the people in their life are defensive and intimidating and controlling. And they could have fear about even, they could be people who don't even want to see the truth of it. It could affect their life, just like our own shadow nature. Other people in the world can kind of just represent traits and characteristics within ourselves that we don't want to see. If they could know some people in their life who like to repeat old patterns, they might see that those people repeat those patterns. They don't like to see that they repeat those patterns, but they could. If those people like to present themselves as loving, but they're really kind of intimidating and controlling and stubborn, they might see the truth about that within those people, but they might not see that same trait and characteristic within themselves. If they think it's just and fair to try to manipulate loving people to get in a relationship with them, because they like to view themselves as that type of person, but as they get in relationships with people, it kind of illuminates the truth that isn't the truth of who they are. It isn't, they don't freely give of themselves. They're not really driven and motivated by love. But then they don't like to see the truth of that. And they might not like to see the truth that they try to make other people not love and believe. We can't make people see the truth that they might not be who they think they are. And other people end relationships with them and move on. Well, they can still be defensive to seeing the truth that those people were trying to offer me love and encouragement to become more independent and work through my fears and insecurities. But some people's view of life also is that I have this more immature view of relationships. That's like shadowy Pisces energy that people can harness. I have these illusions about relationships. You're supposed to love me. That is my truth. I love me. You're supposed to love me. And I kind of indulge, but I don't like to see the truth, that I kind of indulge my more immature nature and maybe my prideful nature, that I kind of have this idea that I indulge me in my stubbornness or my defensiveness or my pridefulness or my shadowy or my superficial, materialistic, worldly nature. And I stay in denial of the truth, and I keep indulging that within myself. You should stay in denial of the truth, and you should keep investing in me. And whatever manipulates me, you should let manipulate you. And whoever in my life manipulates me, you should let them manipulate you. And they don't want to deal with the truth of it. The Virgo hermit energy can, in shadows, that people don't want to see the truth. And they're defensive. They defend viewing themselves as these just and fair and uprighteous people. But they don't want to deal with the truth. Because the truth would require them to change some philosophy of life, of how they view themselves, how they view the world, how they conduct themselves in workplaces, friendships, and relationships. And they don't want to see the truth of any of it. They just get mad at the people who don't conform to living life the way they live it. And because of that, some other people move on from them. I can't make other people see the truth. I can't make other people see they're immature, or they have this illusion that they're this just and fair person. They might be loving and nurturing people to a degree, but they don't ever want people to become more independent because they don't want to become more independent. They don't want to detach from an old phase of life and way of viewing life or viewing relationships because they like it the way it is. Who are the people who most don't want to detach from an old way of viewing life or relationships? People who feel probably that they benefit from it staying the way it is. Well, I think this is just and fair. Yeah, and you're abusive or you're controlling or you're intimidating or you're stubborn. Of course, if you can get people to keep indulging you being that way, it works for you. You think it's just and fair. Other people don't think it's just and fair. Love is supposed to be where you treat other people the way you like to be treated. They kind of have a more shadowy view of love. They're kind of defensive to being more just and fair and treating other people the way they like to be treated. They kind of like to control things or manipulate things or like be the boss or be immature and have people keep aligning with them. So some high vibe people have already seen the truth of that. Some people left those jobs, those friendships, those relationships. They're moving forward. before they are continuing to move forward, they're working with people in their life, could be communicating with people in their life. Hey, I learned some lessons in life. I'm not the same person I used to be. And I, at one time, could have defended certain ways of living life and certain people in my life. I could have been someone who tried to change other people instead of being in relationships with people who are more on the same page as me, because then that challenged me and my belief systems. And those people challenged me to become more independent of this old way of living life, And high vibe people tell other people, I've changed, I'm moving forward, I've learned lessons. I'm not my ego about the fact that I had lessons to learn. I could have been more immature. I could have been more defensive. I had lessons to learn about being just and fair. I have healed from some of those situations. And we can always have people in our life, just like you can do this in relationship to other people. Because, like, before you move forward, you might communicate with some other people. I've healed and grown and matured myself, and I'm moving forward in this new way. Do you want to come with? Some of those people you could have been friends with, and it's kind of like, I'm moving forward in this way. Do you want to come with? And some of those people are like, I might have some people in my life that I love, and those people are kind of defensive to me hanging out with you because you are more independent, and they're afraid I'll become more independent. And I got to work on these people. So you move on and I'll work on these people. But, they could be, you could just be a friend and this is someone they're married to or whatever, right? And their partner might not like them hanging out with someone who has become independent of a relationship. Well, then you might want to be more independent. And, they got to work through that stuff, that it's like, just because I hang out with someone who's single doesn't mean I want to be single, and they need to work through that themselves. But for other people, you could be reaching out to people who you think, I had choices to make in life and I made those choices. I could have gotten out of certain friendships or relationships with people because I had these lessons to learn about standing up for myself, and I could have been repeating an old pattern, and I needed to see the truth of that and figure out why I do what I do. And when I made those choices and I didn't get in certain friendships or relationships, or I got out of them to get in these other ones, you know, other people could have moved on, and now I could kind of be enlightened to the truth that I think you really are someone who's more on the same page as me, but I could have been driving my life off into the ditch, and I didn't even know it. You might have seen it, I didn't see it, and then high vibe people, they're not in their ego. They've healed, they communicate with people in their life that I've changed, and as you're moving forward, some other people in your life might communicate with you that they've learned some lessons and healed. With some of the people, it's like, I'm glad you have done that. I'm glad you kind of got out of that way of thinking or that way of living your life or that job or that relationship. And I wish you peace, but I have moved on and I'm living my own different life now. And just like some people could say that to you, you could say that to some other people. But there's always maybe going to be some people in our life that we reach out to and that we meet that, they've been looking to try to find someone too who's kind of more on the same page as them. They didn't feel some of the people in their life were the right people, so those people moved on. Other people haven't come up the path of life, and then you meet them or reconnect with them or communicate with them. And if people do this work to heal and see that they're kind of on the same page, then you could move forward with those people. The only thing is, they have to bring it into the 3D realm, is what the Pentacles can talk about. And I would think some high vibe people have maybe already, or could be getting to the point of like, I am ready now to like reach out to some people in my life, or even just put myself out there in the world more. And as you're doing that, other people are doing that. And, if there's some people that aren't ready to move forward, you just listen to your intuition. I have to deal with the truth. I can only work with people who are willing to work together with me in this energy. And if they're not, and they're still defensive, still, You know, they can be high vibe, they can be loving people, but they're still defensive. They can still be trying to change other people, still trying to heal other people, not wanting to become independent of something. And it's like, I've already become independent of something, and we're kind of like on different pages, maybe. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep moving forward. And then as you keep moving forward, it could make some of those people wonder, why do I keep doing this? You know, high vibe energy is kind of like being a leader in the world, showing people how you do it. That if people aren't being just and fair and acting with character and integrity, to see the truth, your dream can come into reality with them. They're making their free will choice, and their free will choice is not to put an end to a way of living life that they view as just and fair, that they love, that they defend. And that kind of what you defend and stand up for and your truth is different. And as people see other people being more independent and taking action on their truth, it kind of makes people wonder, how did they do that? How did they transform their life? How did they work through letting go of an old dream and a way of viewing life or living life, or you know? So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up? And again, as you're moving forward in life, there's always going to be different people you'll meet, and it will be to get to know people. Like, I'm going to get to know you before I move forward in a more involved relationship with you. Have you healed? Have you detached from an old foundation, or living more from your mind than your heart, or your defensive nature, your more immature nature, or looking for someone to where it's more about people loving you, but you not really loving other people? Like looking for someone to be like a mother figure to them, or do you like to play that role in other people's life? How about you're a loving people and you love and encourage people to grow their full potential, and you're willing to grow with them and learn lessons in life? You have to get out of your ego. And again, the people that you meet, some you'll move forward with, some you won't. What does High Vibe Sagittarius want to tell us? Okay, we have a card not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the Nine of Pentacles. So the Nine of Pentacles, like the Hermit card, is Virgo energy. Because some high vibe people did do this inner work where you take time alone to deal with the truth and to heal from your own past pain and heartbreak, deal with the truth about what other people think is just and fair and how that differs from what you think is just and fair. It helps you emotionally detach from the past and to probably stand up for yourself and love and believe in yourself. And all of that helps you. High Vibe Nine of Pentacles is that to feel more stable and grounded and abundant within yourself, to know your worth and value, to value and appreciate what you bring to the table. Not everybody wants to be in relationships with people who are stand up for justice and fairness. I want to manipulate you. You should be defensive to standing up for yourself. You should love me. You shouldn't be willing to be more independent. You should do life like this. This is how I do life. Doing all this inner work helps you become more independent, to stand up for what you believe in. And then the way I interpret this card when it's not showing itself, you had to do work within yourself to let go of harnessing that energy in a more shadowy way. Because when you did, you ended up getting in relationships with people that, to their own degree, harness that energy in a shadowy way. And what some people don't know about you, because shadowy energy can be where people are hiding the truth about who they are, and they're going out in the world trying to create an illusion about who they are. And some people think you're like them, and that you're just creating an illusion in the world. But what they don't realize is you don't harness that energy in a shadowy way anymore. And you're harnessing it in a more high vibrational way. The Knight of Pentacles, which is also Virgo energy. So a more shadowy Virgo energy that we can all align with, and we probably do align with maybe for the first 30, 40 years of our life, is we're kind of more motivated and inspired by these things of the world that we want to manifest and invest our time, energy, and effort into and indulge in because we're sure those things are going to make us happy. And we go invest in those things and we go make our life about those things and we're sure those things will make us happy. And you realized all those things that people could have told you that you should make your life about and that you should indulge in or eat or drink or whatever. Oh my gosh, if I'm just in a relationship, it'll magically make me happy. So then we can be very codependent on wanting to be in a relationship. It's like, how about I'm comfortable being single and enjoying my life, and I don't get so caught up in and it can be hard because you can be a loving person. I want to be in a loving relationship, and I want to be loving to other people, and I want other people to love me. Well, we can have definitely went and pursued those things and tried to make those things work. But, some of those things didn't work out the way we wanted. And we're defensive because we want these things in the world and we want justice in the world. And God's like, get comfortable within yourself. You heal. All these different relationships, you've kind of learned all these lessons. That's high vibe Virgo. You've learned all these lessons about all these different people and how different people think and feel and act and what drives and motivates them. How about you know your worth and value and invest in knowing your worth and value? And I think we all have lessons to learn, letting our heart run our life, letting our mind run our life, letting our worldly or more immature nature or passionate nature run our life. And it kind of drives our life off into the ditch in these different ways. And then it's to take all the lessons that we've learned of I now know what I do want to invest in, what I don't want to invest in. And if I don't, high vibe Libra that we can harness is maintaining balance within ourselves. Do I want some of these things of the world? Yes. Am I willing to tip myself out of balance because I want these things and I'm kind of like letting my more emotional nature run my life? Where the offset to our more emotional nature are the earth sign energies, so the opposite of Cancer and Pisces, and Scorpio is Virgo and Taurus and Capricorn. I need to get more balance within myself. I might have been someone who really let my heart run my life, but it has to be balanced, and I need to be in relationships with other people who are more balanced. And I might have gotten in some mismatched relationships with some people who are more defending of their worldly nature, and I'm more defending of my loving nature, and we get in these kind of mismatched relationships, and that ends up being a shadowy Taurus relationship where I have this, you have that, but the whole thing is that the people who might have more things of the world and you have a more loving, creative, inspired nature, if they're not people who value and appreciate what you bring to the table, and they are more about themselves or more about the world or ego or image, it's not going to work out anyway. Can you get in a relationship where someone is a more loving, nurturing person, or that's kind of what they contribute to the relationship, and another person might have more money or status or stability or social clout or something? Yeah. So long as everyone respects what those people bring to the table and it's not less than or less important. But in high vibe, it would have to be working in the relationship, having to be built on a foundation of love, because only love is a solid foundation. Some people purposely are more aligned with their worldly nature, and because they have these things of the world, they think they can present themselves in front of people who are more abundant in love. It's like, I have these things, you should invest in me, you should love me, and I get to control you or manipulate you because what I bring to the table is more important. Well, you've learned lessons about that in life, and you're not as driven by your emotional nature as you used to be. You've kind of got it in balance that I am a loving, nurturing person. I'm going to appreciate that that's what I bring to the table. I also might have got more balance within myself and learned to love myself and invest in myself and become more stable and abundant within myself. And I also might have my own unique talent, skills, and interests that can provide me more stability and security within myself to maybe not think, well, that I have, you can be a very loving person, but you bring more to the table than just love. You do bring truth and insight and stability and character and integrity. And some people don't value those traits and characteristics either because it's all about the ego or the image. And I'll just go find someone else that looks a certain way or acts a certain way. Some of the shadowy people are hiding. They wanted to repeat an old pattern because they were defensive to being more just and fair in a relationship. And they thought what they brought to the table was more important and that people should indulge them in their more shadowy idea that is a little bit more about them. And they could be hiding that because of that, some high vibe people left their life. Those people did want this to work, were, a loving and encouraging person, but some of those people wanted to become single because they want someone who more indulges them or repeats this old pattern. And you saw the truth of it, so you became independent from them. And we've all got these lessons to learn in life, and I think as you've done that, you're now at a new level in life. A lot of these cards down here are minor arcana. We get in these relationships, there's things that we love that we want to go indulge in. The Lover's card, the Justice, the Judgment, the Virgo, and the Death card are major arcana. We have these life experiences to go through to help us learn these lessons. We're going to get wounded along the way. We're going to be defensive along the way. People we loved don't want to work together with us cooperatively. We meet shadowy people. If we keep standing up and are willing to learn lessons in life and not give up our dreams, and we do this inner work, we keep learning these lessons. And then, in tarot, we have the pages and we have the knights and we have the kings and the queens. We could have been a very loving person, but there was maybe some lessons we hadn't learned about. Again, love is supposed to be just and fair, and people are supposed to treat you the way you treat them. And we might have had to repeat a pattern to learn a lesson to be more independent of that pattern and be more balanced within ourselves. And now we're ready to move forward in life differently. And for a long time, we can repeat patterns. And it's like, why does this keep working out like this? Because there was some lesson we weren't seeing. And do I want to be in a relationship? Am I a loving person? Yes, but are you standing up for yourself and requiring it to be just and fair? It's like, well, no, I thought they would change. It's like, well, you can keep staying in denial of the truth that some people are willing to change, some people aren't. When they're not, are you willing to stand up for what you believe in? And then you've gotten yourself really emotionally entangled in someone, and it's really hard to get yourself out. So maybe don't get yourself so emotionally entangled before you find out the truth of people and what really drives and motivates them. And maybe before you weren't listening to your more creative, inspired Sagittarius energy, which was kind of trying to get you to listen to your intuition. Your high vibe Sagittarius was like, oh shit, they're not willing to align and invest in standing up for themselves and truth and justice, and they kind of indulge their more worldly, immature nature. Shit, we gotta go another round. Oh, damn, we're gonna get hurt doing this. But our intuition tries to tell us, like, you shouldn't do this. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this person's on the same page. You should detach from this person and move on. But we all had lessons to learn. And now you've learned those lessons and you are ready to move forward in life differently. So you've been set free to move forward in life differently. Some other people are going to have to keep repeating a pattern because just like you, they've gotten themselves emotionally entangled in some things they might need to become independent of. They might have a certain way of viewing relationships that they need to work through. And you let them and get out of your ego about the fact that some people have moved ahead of you. You're motivated and inspired to let them be a good example in your life. Am I in a relationship with some of those people? No, but I respect and admire how they're living their life, and I'm going to go live my life like that. I'm not going to keep being defensive and not loving and believing in myself just because some people that I think I'd like to be in a relationship with that have moved on ahead of me aren't willing to be in a relationship with me. It's like, okay, I'm assuming God has a plan for my life. I could go back and do this, or I could follow the example of some other people in the world. And I'm going to keep knowing my worth and value. And if there's no one around in my life for me to be in a more romantic relationship with, then I'm going to invest in my career and my friends and my family and enjoying my life. And I'll assume as I keep moving forward in that energy and listen to my intuition, I will meet other people who are more on the same page as me. If I go back and repeat an old pattern trying to change other people, I'm a loving person, you should love me, and they're like, sure, I'll get in a relationship with you, but I'm the same person I was before. It's like, oh shit. Or getting in a relationship with people who are like that again. Is it so important that you be in a relationship, or that you, I don't know, something? We'll go on. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up? The Ace of Swords, the Eight of Swords, the Five of Swords, the Ace of Wands, the Nine of Cups. The Eight of Cups is walking to the Nine of Cups. So we have some people here inspired by the Nine of Cups. Here we have people living more from their mind than their heart, in their Gemini energy of free will. They're in a mental prison about maybe what their truth is, and maybe some people just haven't picked a path. Do I have hope and faith and belief in myself and in love? Or should I make my life more about me or the world or my ego or my image or indulgence? Won't those things make me happy? Isn't that the most important thing? And the Five of Swords is mental conflict still about the truth. Why did it come out? Because of the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Wands I view as Leo energy. We're either operating more from our egoic nature, and instead of wanting to be illuminated to the truth, we keep kind of thinking that the truth is that I'll be happy and emotionally fulfilled if I keep doing what I'm doing, or not being independent, or I'm sure if I keep trying to get other people to change, I'm sure one day they'll change, because the fives talk about change. There's some people that are in their own relationships with other people who are in a mental prison. From the 8 to the 5, it's letting go of the 3 of Swords, which is healing from past pain, heartbreak, fears, insecurities to see the truth. And You know, they could be in relationships with people who keep deciding, no, I don't want to deal with my past pain and heartbreak or my fears or my insecurities or how I might view life and what I think is just and fair. And your idea of what's just and fair is different than my idea. And I'm going to keep taking action because after the Four of Swords is the Five of Swords, where people take action on what they think is just and fair. And some people keep taking action more out of their fear, their insecurity, their ego, their lust, their greed, their pride, their ego. I don't have to become independent of my ego nature. I don't have any lessons to learn. I don't have to heal. I don't have to reflect on any of those issues from my past that make me act this way to begin with. And some people are still chasing after people. You know, we either know our worth and value, or we've had some shadowy people in our life, and we want them to value us, love us, validate our worth and value. Some people are chasing after people. If I can get those people to love me, that will set me free. I will be happy. They will think I'm in their club, in their group. I'm on the same status as them. They're kind of defending a shadowy thing that they think will make them, I don't know, maybe have a certain status or image in the world, and they might not even see that's what kind of drives and motivates them. High vibe people aren't trying to get other people to validate their worth and value. They know their worth and value. And that's where some people, where they're more caught up in their ego and their image, which is competitive energy. I've got to have people view me a certain way. I need those people to like me. I need those people to want to be in a relationship with me. You know, that's where some people, they can have loving and nurturing people in their life. It's like, yeah. No, these are the people that I need to love me and validate my worth and value. Someone who, at least in their mind, other people could think they're a complete idiot. But in their mind, if they think certain people have a certain status or image, or is kind of a shadowy, egoic nature where they like to view themselves as a loving person, and they're trying to get like people who are more bossy or controlling or prideful or egotistical, it's like always the challenge to get people to change. And then if they can get people to change, see, I'm the just and fair and loving person. I got someone to change. But again, the reason they can do that, and why some of you could have been attracted to some of these people, is they can be kind of loving and nurturing in a relationship, but it's more out of their own ego as to why they do it. And then the end goal is for you to kind of look at them as God in your life and be more codependent on them and indulge them in whatever shadowy ways of being, right? And so they could be trying to work with someone else for this is their way of how they view life. It's not to love and encourage people to love and believe in themselves and that you're both going to grow to your full potential. No, they have this way of living life that it should be that you, if I'm loving and nurturing to you, then you're supposed to be codependent on me. And you're only supposed to grow and mature yourself to a degree that I say is just and fair. If you want to step out of my comfort zone and be more independent of things that manipulate me, no, then you're wrong. You're bad. You know, it's just to get you so you can be in this energy to indulge me where I get to stay in my comfort zone, where I don't have to change or become independent of anything. I think that's just and fair. You know, and other people are like, we're both supposed to become independent and heal and grow and mature myself. But again, some people, kind of think it should be just more about them. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.